Hello and welcome to the island with me, BonBonB. I'm BonBonB, you're very, very welcome. So the island, what's it all about? Well, it's my very own city build, where we're playing at the beginning a base game style build, sticking within the start square until we want to spread out in either direction, and introducing one or two mods or assets every single show. The links to those mods and assets and to the map are all in the description. Feel free to join in and play along with me. Now, I'm actually having a lot of fun with this one. It's been too long since I built a city in anger. I'm too busy doing reviews and tutorials without actually getting my hands dirty, and I'm really enjoying where we've got to so far. The build is a work in progress and we'll keep fiddling and fixing as we go along. But what have I got for you today? Well, the only way to know is by having a top-down look at that classical start square, which is progressing quite nicely. I'm loving the look of the city so far. So first of all, we need to make sure there are enough people to fill those jobs in the industrial area, so we'll be doing a little bit more residential work. So that's going to fill out the last of our pre-built street area right there. Once that's done, I need to do a little bit of cleaning up of the harbour area where there's sand where there shouldn't be. Then we're going to expand a little bit on the waste collection by adding a recycling centre, and at the end of the show we're going to clear up some flooding as well. Also, we're going to have a huge traffic problem to contend with, which I fix in just one click. That's right, fixing a huge traffic problem in just one click. So look forward to that today. Now, this is the high speed section. I'm doing this at high speed because it took me just over half an hour to do, and I'm sure you don't want to sit here for half an hour while I plop down loads of individual buildings and move them around using Move It. So this is going to be the section which is probably a little bit fast to follow, but I think it doesn't really matter. You just want to see that I haven't shortcut anywhere and everything's been hand plopped and not copied and pasted. And then we'll get on with the build itself. So anyway, yes, I've been really enjoying this and getting on really quite well with it. I've been also tinkering around with things like DLC, having a look at Campus and Industries DLC, which I've owned but never used in anger. Maybe we'll be introducing those. I say maybe. We'll definitely be introducing some of those in some later episodes, so watch out for that one. But anyway, yes, this area here, we'll get a bit of population going on in here. And once that is filled out, I think we'll go back to the first zoned area from episode 1 and upgrading those buildings to something a little bit cleaner and tidier than the base vanilla ones that we've got that have spawned into there, as I promised several episodes ago. Now, before we get on with the main hub of today's show, I wanted to do a bit of beautification with the big restaurant that backs onto this residential estate. I always knew there wasn't going to be enough room for housing between here and the restaurant itself, so I figured the entire area here would be restaurant ground, which would mean seating areas in the front, seating areas in the back, and maybe a little bit of privacy as well. So I'm using planters at the front just to beautify things there. We'll plop a few tables around the outside just to make it look more like a nice happy eating area, an eatery. Right now I'm using a mod called the Forest Brush by EGI, or Eggy I guess, which is a great mod. I'm not really using it to its fullest potential in today's show, but it will enable you to do a mixed tree painting across the entirety of your city at great ease. I'm just using it as a tree selector in today's show, but in case you're wondering what that box that popped up was, that's Forest Brush by Eggy. It's an amazing mod, highly recommended, especially if you're a map maker and you want to have some lush forests, mixed forest and vegetation around your city. You won't find a better mod than that one. I feel that restaurant looks much better now in that location. It just breaks up the line. Oh, I missed some houses. Yeah, breaks up the line of the commercial, and I feel a lot better for it. Now, one last quick task before we get on with the main part of the build, and that is a second incinerator, because we're right on our garbage capacity. That should buy us some time. And so, as promised, time to remove the sand from the harbour area. Why am I doing this? Well, quite simply, if you build a house on sand, it's going to collapse. It's just going to collapse. There isn't enough structural integrity underneath your footings, and everything will just fall down, and it'll cost you millions. So we're going to remove the sand from this area, make it look like a bit of reclaimed land there. It's going to look a lot better for it, just by removing the sand texture. Now, it's a bit tetchy removing sand textures, especially using the theme that I have here, but I think the theme is worth it for the overall effect. Like there, I've just removed a bit too much and pop it back in. And the few flecks that are actually on the high ground, I'm going to leave in place because you're going to get a bit of sand blowing in from the ocean, and that makes it believable. Anyway, off to our recycling area. Now, this little quadrant here will be fully filled out with buildings in time. I'm just going to plop the buildings down here. There's a bit more space over here. And the two buildings that I've chosen to go with today are the Recycling Drop-Off Centre by the lovely Avanya. No, she's lovely because I've spoken with her. Remember Skylines Talk? Lovely lady. And the almost certainly as lovely Fishbus. This is the recycling centre from Fishbus. Now, if you recognise both of these assets and you watch Duvo, I actually use both of these assets in my waste solutions area on Duvo. So yeah, you would recognise them, but they are both outstanding assets. Why would you have something less than outstanding when you can have outstanding? So great work from Avanya and from Fishbus. Again, the links to both of those assets are in the description of the video. Now I'm going to drag them across using Move It, place them, and then place the roads around them, rather than put the roads down and then try and fit the buildings in place. That is BonBon's tip of the day. I don't have a jingle for BonBon's tip of the day. Maybe I should, but nah, probably too much cheese on my channel already. So anyway, these buildings are going to go here and here. There's a little gap at this end, which we'll be filling very shortly. And the gap at the end, I had plans for. The patch of ground between the back of those buildings and the road, I had plans for. Let's get rid of that bit of road anyway. So let's pop in some roads anyway, so we have access here. Now, the original plan was to introduce into today's show procedural objects. And my big plan was to use the vanilla landfill tip, the one that fills up before your very eyes, and then you have to empty it and empty it and empty it, and everybody hates it. Yes, I was going to use that right at the very end with the procedural objects mod to shape it into the shape that we have at the back. Unfortunately, not every asset works with procedural objects, and we've got a little bit of a hump in the road there. Let me fix that. Sorry, I've been distracted. I'm going to move that node back and then maybe up a little. And just, there you go. That's a bit better. Anyway, yes, what was I saying? Oh, yes, procedural objects. So I was going to use procedural objects to shape the landfill tip at the end to fill that area up. I felt it would have looked amazing. And it may still look amazing. I might have to come up with an alternative solution just to fill that area, because it's gonna need something down here, and I want this to be all for waste services. And we're going to keep those two incinerators. I think we'll keep them in place over there. I think they look okay in isolation over there as like a small industrial mini zone. I think they work, and they are pumping out pollution in an area where it's not going to cause any problems to any local residents, because we're not going to have any local residents over there either. Now, plans for the... we need the smaller fencing unit here. I'm going to need to do some shunting around the fencing. And we're going to get a bit of visual glitching going on here. I don't know why that's glitching out, but when we move the camera, it stays in place. Yeah, weird. Very weird. Yes, so anyway, plans for upcoming shows. Well, one of the first things we're going to have to do before we can really get on to do any more expansion will be with regards to education, because we've got our high school down in place now. Again, that does need some detailing, but we have a high school down in place. We also have some offices coming in today. And also more in some upcoming weeks as well, so watch out for that one. Nice little office zone coming to entertain you. We'll also we're going to need some high educated citizens, which you don't get from the high school. You're going to need to have. Let me pop that down. Move that using Move It, since it's wanting to be an awkward beggar. So yes, we'll need a university, and we'll be plopping down the university in a similar manner to how we plopped down the water treatment. Basically, we're pumping the water into the ocean at the moment, because where I want to have the water treatment plant isn't in the start square, so we'll be just making do with that temporary fix, pumping water into the ocean until we buy the tile where the water treatment plant will go into. And I'm going to do something similar with the university. Where I put the university down will be a temporary fix, because I'm planning on using a few assets from the campus DLC. I've got an idea for a mini camp. Why have we got a gap here? Okay, I think we'll move the whole fence along. Yeah, move the fence, don't move the asset. Makes sense. So anyway, yes, we'll be using some of the campus DLC assets. I've got an idea for the campus area. I think it's going to look pretty cool once it's in place. So that's there to come. And also, I think when we expand out to different parts of the island, I think maybe we can bring in some of the industries DLC assets as well. I've not played with these yet. How long have these DLCs been out, and how little have I used them? Yes, exactly. So we'll be doing a few bits and bobs with those as well. We'll get some fencing down here and a bit of some overlap. Can we overlap that? Yeah, you go. It looks like it's one solid piece of fence. So anyway, that's the recycling area fenced off, so people can't get in and accidentally, I don't know, impale themselves. But yes, we will fill out that back part of the recycling centre in an upcoming show. I'm also going to do something underneath the highways, and I've got ideas, but it's not quite working at the moment. And for me, it's kind of a low priority, but we will do something with the roads underneath the highways, dirt tracks, and somebody suggested to me about the homeless, and I figure we may have some, like, I'll say shanty areas, but rundown areas. But I'm not so sure about under the highways in terms of having like a little homeless village. But as this is like the recycling and the waste collection area, I'm thinking maybe a bit of fly tipping down here. Not going to spend too much time on it today, because frankly I could spend the whole episode doing that on its own. And there's more to do with the actual main recycling area. It's under the highways, we can't really see it anyway. And now for a little game I call Fill the Area. And hunt the office building. We're going to be using a vanilla office building. We need to find stuff that's about the right size that is going to fit in there, but also look like it fits in terms of the style. Like, that style's not bad, that would work, but it's a bit too fat. A wee bit too fat. Want something a bit smaller, a bit slimmer, not too modern. That would fit, but I don't like the tone of the brickwork. That one's too modern, that one's too tall. This one is too ugly. That one we've seen. This one, that one doesn't even seem to scale, that one. Then we have that's too modern. Oh, that might work. I think we have a winner. That one definitely would fit. We're just going to need to pop in a little bit of extra road around the corner there. So let's go and do a little bit of road work. Now things are going to get a bit fiddly. I promise you the next few minutes is going to be me fighting, and I mean fighting, with nodes, segments, alignments, move it's, squidging everything in and making everything work. But I think the end result would be definitely worth it. So first of all, let's grab those two nodes so that we can just pull that bit a little bit further back. Oh, I seem to have the prop there. And now I have the node and the prop and the segment. Okay, back to move it. Back to move it. Just go for nodes, no props. There we go. That's better. Drag that in. Yeah, we have some terrain alignment issues there as well, but I'm okay with that, I think. Let's now drag the building across, which is going to require me to choose that. There we go. Spin it. And now how do we fit this into this space? Yeah, okay, right. We're going to have to be creative, because that gap, we need to leave the door open to that gap, so that building can't be any closer than there. Well, what to go in that gap? I mean, possibly parking, but there's got to be a small... hello, I think we have a winner. Winner number 2. Winner winning chicken dinner. Now, if we can just pop you in there. Don't worry about the trees at the back. We can move them back. It's fine. Trees can be moved in real life. Dig them up, shove them across. Let's do some alignment with the terrain there so that we're not glitching too much. And now we'll just do some shifting of the trees and also the building apparently. It seems the building needs to be moved as well. Let's move the trees back. I don't mind trees clipping into the back of a building because you can't see that and you can just assume that the branches have been cropped off. But anything just growing through the top of the building there does look very weird. And from certain distances, the LOD, the LOD, will make this look very strange indeed. So, anyways, well, how are we doing with these trees? I think one more budge back there. And if I didn't have the marquee tool set, that would be much easier to grab those trees as well. But there you go. Okay, I like the layout of all of that now. Now we just need to sort out any of the little problems. Like you can see the terrain glitching and flaking. We're going to need to elevate this slightly. That is going to look a lot better if it was flat. So let's bring that up. Yep, that's looking much better there. And I told you there's going to be lots of tweaking and fine tuning. Now this fence here looks ridiculous. There it needs to be aligned with the change in the terrain there. So that works better. Now we can move this one across a little bit more. And if we align the fence struts together, they look better as well. I would say the whole of this probably needs to be elevated as well slightly. Just again, looks slightly wrong at that end. By moving at the back of the front also moves it up at the back, but that doesn't look too bad at the back, so I think we've got away with it at this end. And that road at the end will allow us to do some work at this end of the recycling plant once we come back to it with something to fill the gap, which I haven't prepared. But I feel that this now looks good. We might have a little bit of traffic driving through the sides of the buildings here. I'm a little worried about that. I'm just going to move that back to allow... There we go. Now we've got to move the trees again. Yes, I just noticed that that building was actually on top of the road and we were going to have vehicles going through it. But now, having done that, the vehicles won't drive through it and this looks a lot better. I think it's just having a bit of access. And shall we clear a little bit of... Hang on. Maybe if we move the trees onto the green bits. There we go. The trees onto the green bits. That definitely works a lot better. And they're hidden in there. So do they really... If you can't see them, do they matter? I would say the answer is still yes. It's not perfect around there. We maybe stick a planter down there to make things just a little bit more perfect later on. I think definitely have a fence around the back of that though, because at the moment people can sneak through from one to the other, and it's very visual and visible. Anyway, that there I think is the end of our jaunt with the recycling plant today. Still, there's still time to do something in today's show, and I think that may be coming over to our little flooded tunnel entrance. Now, our flooded tunnel entrance is because we are very low to sea level here. You can see that heavy white line on the terrain there. That is sea level, and our tunnel entrance is coming in below that. And the game fills water to sea level, doesn't care. It just fills it to sea level. And this is a tunnel filling up with seawater because we are below sea level. We're going to elevate the entirety of this tunnel until the water disappears. And we're about 1 meter below, and I think the water is now gone. So I think we can do that's about as low as we can have it. And then we just want to make sure that these tunnel entrances are not dropping away at a silly angle. So I'm going to bring those up. Don't think I'm actually getting the right nodes there either. Have I? Yeah, those two there. Right, so we're going to bring them up as well. That's going to make the tunnel entrance look smooth and clean and crisp and clear and non-flooded. Now, having tweaked with the underground, the depth of this tunnel entrance doesn't seem deep enough now, so I'm going to do a little bit of work with the terrain, just raising it up around the outside just so it looks like we are actually going into some slightly higher ground at this point, possibly where they displaced a little bit of the soil from digging the tunnels. I think that would make a bit more sense. Let's have a little eyeball check at that. I mean, it looks okay, but it still feels probably isn't deep enough as a tunnel entrance. I'm going to do a little bit more elevating here as well. Anyway, whilst I'm doing this, I remind you that I did say something about a huge traffic problem. And I promise you, you will spot this before I do. And yes, I do resolve it in just one click. Although you won't see me do the click in today's show, I'll tell you what that click was. It'll be very obvious what the click's going to be as well once you see what the problem is. So it was around about this point I figured, I've got enough footage for the series. For today, I'm done. Let's just make sure that City's working, that the ships and the rail are using the cargo port, and they certainly were, which makes me very happy indeed. It was around about this point though I spotted the huge traffic problem, as you can now. Yes, the huge traffic problem was literally a problem with huge traffic. On this occasion, it's the Ford Crown Thicc by jaksch, and it's an asset off of the workshop. I reviewed it within WhatsMap and forgot to unsubscribe afterwards, and that is a one button click which has fixed my problem. But yes, it's an amazing looking asset. You've got to say the realism is absolutely on point. The scaling might be just slightly out, but all told, I would say that that is an absolutely truly spectacular work, and the link to that again is in the description of this video, just in case you needed one for your next city build. But anyway, yes, that's how to fix your huge traffic problem. You just unsubscribe from your huge traffic. Man alive, what a world we live in. So anyway, that does conclude today's show. Thank you very much for watching, for commenting, for liking and for subscribing. In the upcoming shows, we'll be doing a commercial strip along here, an office plaza area around this square about right here, some more offices and services in that patch of ground between the trees and the highway right there, and we'll be filling in some space around the back of the recycling plants that you've seen us build today, right about here. Then in upcoming shows, we need to do a lot more work around the back here. Going to be adding a bus depot into this area too. We need to be doing a lot more detailing to the power station area. There's a bit more industrial area to fill out as well. Plus we need to do a lot more work to the cargo area where the docks are and the incoming freight via the trains. So plenty to do in that area as well. And we're barely even getting started. So that's it for this week. Join me Monday to Saturday for What's Map, trying to find you the best map for your next city build. The Sunday for the chart show, looking at the top performing assets of the week, which sometimes I'll forget to subscribe to or unsubscribe to. And I'll see you again in 7 days' time for more from the island. I've been BonBonB, you've been very, very welcome, and I'll see you very, very soon. Thanks for watching.